Wow! Oh no, they stopped. Oscar just stopped Jojo Diaz. What's up, fight fans? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of here of Round One Sports TV. I am your host, Edwin. And it's Saturday night, it's fight night. We're checking out Jojo Diaz and Oscar Duarte. The Oscar just stopped Jojo Diaz. His corner, in fact, was going to throw in the towel. They felt like he was taking a lot of damage. It was a good fight while it lasted. And this is Oscar. If just in case you don't know, this is the same one that fought Ryan Garcia. That Ryan Garcia like knocked out his back molder or something like that. I believe in the fight. So while you guys are checking in, let me know where you guys are watching from, and let me know if you're watching the fights now, and let me know what you guys want to talk about. Wow, he had him up against the rope, man. He needed to throw a little offense back. Jojo Diaz, he was getting hit with a lot of shots. Yeah. What's up? Trying to no. What's up, man? Mess up your name. I gotta fix this message thing. I'm gonna figure it out. I pressed something. I made it real skinny. What's up, baby? How you doing? Fight nights, watching the fights. We have a lot of big fights coming up right now, right? And one of the biggest fights that are coming up is on August 3rd, right? The Terrence Crawford fight, right? It's supposed to be Tim Tszyu versus um Ortiz, right? Virgil Ortiz Jr. Now, Virgil Ortiz Jr. is fighting tonight, and right away they stopped like talking about this fight right here, right? They really concentrated on the fight with Tim Tszyu, but he does have this opponent in front of him, and he does have to get past tonight. This would be a major upset if Ortiz doesn't get by this guy tonight, in which I believe he should easily, and this will lead him right into August 3rd. Here, let me lower this right here. They also got bare knuckle matches going on tonight too. That's a real meat grinder of a sport. Ugh. But exciting. It is exciting. I think I'm gonna go check out some of the results of that. When is the Naoya Inoue fight? The Naoya Inoue fight is May 4th. Now we're gonna be talking about that fight um against Luis Pantera Nares, right? And I was checking out some interviews and stuff and some back interviews on both men. And I was making sure that both men successfully made the 14-day cutoff weight limit, and both men did. Luis Pantera Nares, he posted a video showing that he made the 14-day cutoff. Naoya Inoue posted that he made the 14-day cutoff as well. This fight looks to be at schedule. Luis Pantera Nares is, he's all over social media and a lot of Mexican platforms. Him being Mexican descent and not very fluid in English, but he's not shy to share what he believes is going to happen in this fight. And according to Lewis, the first time he went out and fought the Japanese champion over there, he admitted that in the fight, the Japanese fighter did in fact hit hard, and that he could feel like his brain rattling. But he kept telling himself to keep going forward and that to believe in himself. And he did. He persevered in that fight, ended up stopping the Japanese superstar over there the second time, and really, really like shocking a lot of the fans out there. So, um, you know, this is a big fight for Luis Pantera Nares, but he's just the type of fighter that he is supremely confident in his ability. He's supremely confident in himself and his training. He's been in a situation like this before, so the crowd is not going to be a factor. Venturing out into enemy's territory, that's right up his alley. Luis Pantera Nares is up and he's game for the challenge. He even called the monster Inoue. He said he's not a monster. He's just a mosquito, and I'm about to swat that mosquito. Big words. And those are some big shoes he's gonna need to fill. Naoya Inoue is the reigning Japanese superstar right now, and he's currently the undisputed champion at 122 pounds. He's putting everything on the line in Tokyo, Japan, in May 4th. Now, this fight will be filmed in America, broadcasted in America around, I would say, around 7:30 in the morning. So you're gonna have to get up early to watch this fight. It'll be nighttime over there, but morning time over here. And you know, look, Naoya Inoue, all he has done since the beginning of his career is take care of business. Early on in his career, within a year of turning pro, he had already competed for his first world title, a truly remarkable, you know, you know, feat. And he didn't stop there. With only 8 professional fights, he had already became a two-division world champion. It seemed like his body was growing and he was growing fast. And he was really cutting weight to make sure that he was that guy and that he belonged. He wanted to take on the champions, and he did. By moving up to 118 pounds and first securing his first 4 titles, really separated himself from all the bantamweight champions of the world, because prior to that, no man has ever done that. That is such a skilled division that it seems like all the champions quickly knock off each other. Not one man was the definitive king until Naoya Inoue came through. He he solidified himself at the top by challenging each champion one at a time. That is the most prestigious way you can collect all 4 belts. He didn't beat one guy that had 3. He didn't beat a guy that had 2. None of that. He went after them individually. That is the hardest way to do it. Once he did that, within 30 days of securing all 4 of those belts, he relinquished the titles and he went up to challenge Stephen Kubo Fulton at 122 pounds for his WBO and WBC titles of the world. He went into that fight the challenger, and going into that fight, many, many, many people said that this was going to be the fight that exposed Naoya Inoue for the fighter he is not. They were calling Stephen Kubo Fulton the Monster Slayer before he even got off the plane. If you were to let these guys tell it, Stephen Kubo Fulton already beat him, doubled back home, and is at his parade. But that's easier said than done. he entered into Japan, enemy's territory, but it's not like the Japanese crowd is like a rowdy American crowd. You can feel the fact that you're not at home, but at the same time, they were being respectable to Stephen Kubo Fulton. And on that night, the Japanese superstar really showed the world who he is. He's a champion. He not only was he supposed to be outgunned, well, I would say not by power. By many, they gave the Japanese superstar the power edge. But they were saying that Stephen Kubo Fulton was supposed to be faster than him, better to the jab, quicker to the step. And if it came a point into the fight where they were going to have to counterpunch, that they believed that Stephen Kubo Fulton would have been the better counterpuncher out of the two. Man, that wasn't further from the truth. Naoya Inoue came in there and quickly took the center of the ring, and he set the pace by utilizing his jab and beating Stephen Kubo Fulton to the punch. It was a truly remarkable performance that he put on. Not only did he go in there and pitch like he a masterful boxing performance, and he pitched a shutout. Stephen Kubo Fulton did not win a single round in my book. He had moments in the fight, but not enough to secure a round. Naoya Inoue completely shut him down. And not only did he shut him down, he beat him at his own game. So that I encourage you to go back and watch highlights of that fight. You would see the Japanese superstar imitating Stephen Kubo Fulton in the ring by using his Philly shell defense against him and then mocking him, telling him, bro, you can't even hit me. I'm using your own style against you. That must have been freaky, right? Not only is he using your own style against you, but he's actually doing it better. How can that be? That's my style, right? He wins those two belts, and within a 6-month period, he challenged Marlon Tapales to unify undisputed status at 122 pounds. Truly, truly, truly remarkable. No time off. Um, I can't remember the last time a champion quickly made this kind of turnaround. You know, and when he went into the fight against Marlon Tapales, I gotta admit, by that time the cat was out of the bag. The world basically knew who this guy was. Marlon Tapales was the underdog going into that fight, and many people didn't give him much of a chance. But Marlon Tapales did his thing in that fight, if you ask me. Not only did he last longer than most people thought, he really gave the Japanese superstar, from what I saw, he made him think. And the Japanese superstar, he's a very intelligent fighter. So when you make subtle movements, he's going to question why, and he's going to feel you out for a little period to see. And Marlon was doing the right thing by switching it up. Is that it's really hard to go in and such a skilled fighter like the Japanese superstar. If you try to bulldozer him in, he has one of the meanest check hooks I've ever seen. He fights good off the front foot, and he fights even better going off the back foot. He was criticized for not, a lot of people were saying he doesn't fight a lot off the back foot, but it's because his forward attack is so strong that not a lot of fighters could push him back. You see, and now Naoya Inoue is truly, truly a joy to watch. Luis Panteranares is not getting the memo, and he anticipates on going on Tokyo, Japan, and playing spoiler. Listen, everything's right there for the taking. This Mexican has just been given an opportunity to fight for 4 belts. It's not every day a person gets a phone call like that, and you know look, the last time a gentleman had undisputed status in the Tokyo Arena in Japan, and he was heavily favored to win the fight, he got knocked out. Mike Tyson got knocked out by Buster Douglas in that same arena. And there hasn't been a boxing match in Tokyo Arena since that night. They have opened the doors, and Japan is fairly confident that tonight, on that night, they will be victorious. They have a real one here in the Japanese superstar. And I don't want or like to talk over fighters and look past Luis Pantera Nares. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. So I would like to talk about a future opponent, like I have when I shared my opinion on Naoya Inoue and Javante Tank Davis. Right. I've also heard Naoya himself talk about that. He doesn't really think that the fight might happen. You know, and sometimes when you catch these fighters at certain situations, they're so focused on the fight at hand, they're just doing away with any possibilities. And I get that. But there's even another fight that I see could happen. In fact, what do you guys think about this? Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko versus Naoya Inoue. Vasily is even smaller than Javante Tank Davis, and he's truly a 130 pounder. You know, he's blimping himself up to make 135 because the big fights are there and there's nothing for him at 130. That's the only reason why Loma's up there at 135. That's it. Because he wanted to make bigger fights. But let's keep it in mind that Loma is a real 130 pounder and he's a smaller guy. I think he could cut the weight even better than Javante Tank Davis. And I think that fight would even be even just as explosive. Think about it. Loma's movement, foot movement, and the way he punches with where that Loma can be the best version of himself because he's fighting at his natural weight. Where would they meet? Would they fight exactly at 130? I think Loma could squeeze into 130. So I was thinking that over as a future also possibility if you know if Tank couldn't do it and Tank might just be a little bit too big for him when it comes to body mass. They might be the same height, but body mass wise, Tank's a bigger dude than the Japanese superstar. Yeah. Just like, for instance, Isa Pitbull Cruz. Isa Pitbull Cruz is 5'4". He's actually shorter than the Japanese superstar, and he is currently the 140-pound reigning champion of the world, the WBA. And he's 5'4". He's an inch taller than Isa Pitbull Cruz. It's just that Isa Pitbull Cruz's body mass is a lot bigger than his. Yeah. When Bob Arum said that, he said when he looked at Naoya Inoue against Stephen Kubo Fulton in Japan, Bob Arum was concerned because of how much bigger Stephen Kubo Fulton looked compared to the Naoya Inoue. And on fight night, he didn't look that much, on TV though. TV, it's like watching a football game on TV. The grass is always mad green. You go buy a ticket, you go there, you look, man, that grass ain't all that green. That shit don't even look like professional level grass, right? Like some high school shit. I seen high school fields look better than some of these fields, right? So everything looks better on TV and that's what I said. It's always one thing to be at home and watching Naoya Inoue. It's another thing to buy a ticket, and it's another thing entirely to be standing in front of him. When Stephen Kubo Fulton was in front of him, he might have felt like the bigger man, but I guarantee after that first round, he didn't feel like the bigger man in there. He didn't feel like the stronger man, the faster man, the quicker man. Naoya Inoue completely made him forget his whole fight strategy. There were times in the ring when Stephen Kubo Fulton looked at loss. He was second guessing himself. He was gun shy. He was holding back his punches. He didn't want to exchange with him. He didn't want to get knocked out exchanging with Naoya Inoue after you seen him knock out fighters like Jason Maloney and the way he knocked him out in Madison Square Garden. You know, so you got to respect his power when you're in there. And most fighters that he's in there with, s- somewhere in the fight, they're running around trying to survive rather than fighting him. And then I catch some fighters watching him rather than fighting him. They're standing there just watching him. They're so impressed by his speed and his power that they catch themselves watching him fight him rather than fighting him. Yeah, because it's the less of the two evils. Paul Butler knew right away that he had made a horrible mistake. After that first round, Paul Butler was like, I think we still thought he had a chance, but I think by the third round is when I saw Paul Butler's expression on his face change. He knew he was no longer going to be the WBO champion of the world. And he knew that um, now, when you're in front of a fighter, you can feel the fighter's intelligence. You can feel when a fighter is like, and he hasn't even thrown a punch. It's a weird feeling, right? As a fighter, right? I'm in front of a guy. I've never fought this guy. We probably got an argument somewhere, whatever, right? But his energy already allows me to know he's not more skilled than me. I don't know if that's me being cocky or arrogant. I don't know. But I could already tell in a way he wasn't on my level. Now I've been surprised. Yeah, I might have read it wrong. Right? Right? And but that's what Paul Butler was reading off of him. His intelligence, his supreme confidence matched with his skill and his power. It was too much. He knew that the Japanese superstar was really smart and his ring IQ was high and he wasn't going to make a rookie mistake. He turned him into a retreating one punch fighter where that Paul Butler was just relying on one punch, backing up. That's it. And it goes to show you that Naoya Inoue, whenever he needs to switch it up, he can. Whenever he needs to make adjustments, he can. He's very, very, very dangerous. He's a fast starter, right? And I've heard a lot of fighters that have come up against him talk about his first step. That first step that he has as when he's coming in is very explosive. Um, and just like Terrence Crawford is one of the things that I take away, and it seems to be that's a big key in boxing, distance managing. It's really big, man. I can see that a lot of the greats had good distance managing. None of them in that area, they were all real like superior in that. Like they knew how far they are away. They didn't have to use their jab as a rangefinder. They knew exactly where how they were going to hit you from. And you know, when you don't have to leave your jab out there like Devin Haney, one of the things that Ryan Garcia saw in Devin Haney's flaw had to be that when Devin Haney throws his jab, his guard drops and there's a hole in a window right in this area. If Ryan would exactly what he did, lean back, evade his jab, and Devin left it out there a little too much. When he threw the jab, Devin had to roll underneath it, whether or not he hit Ryan, just to evade his hook. Because you're in training for that, you're anticipating the hook to coming. Whether you see it or not, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to duck. When you throw that jab, and you're like, you see that you're about like in limbo, like go under right away, and he didn't do that. He was trying to see Ryan Garcia's check hook. He thought that he can actually be quicker by his, they say the hand's quicker than the eye. You should know that. On at this level in the game, he shouldn't have like counted on that he was gonna see Ryan's check hook. Ryan surprised him. You see? So in like Naoya in a way, He has one of the nastiest check hook ever. In his like second professional fight, he fought against that Thai guy. It was one of the cleanest check hooks, and it was, it was so clean, and the way he just bounces back to the corner, like he's just ready for another fight. I believe he can do 12 rounds and another 12 rounds. So if Luis Pantera Nares is thinking about dragging the Japanese superstar into deep waters, that's probably not going to be his plan. I think Luis Pantera Nares is going to rely heavily on his lunging, shots like he is. I don't think he's going to switch up his style. It's too late to do that. Um, you just got to be quicker at it. You know, another person that fights like this, Luis Alberto Lopez. Luis Alberto Lopez has a similar style to Luis Pantera Nares. Every time I see Lopez go out there, I think he's gonna lose. I say, oh, he's gonna lose his belt this time. Boy, does he prove me wrong. Does he prove me? I'm saying to myself, somebody's gonna catch that dude coming in with his arm way down here and one arm like this and throwing it, right? But the more I watched him, the more I realized what his success was. See, Luis Nares leans with his shoulder a little bit. It's like he points it. That's a tail. The difference between Luis Pantera Nares and Lopez is that Lopez throws it from here. He'll fake with one of his fakes is his shoulder. He knows his opponent's looking at his shoulder. He'll rock his shoulder and then throw the other one. You'll be thinking it's this hand. You see? But Luis Nares, he sticks out his shoulder like this and then throws with that punch all the time. All the time. That's a bad tail because you're leaning. Whatever arm he throws with, he leads with this shoulder to get torque and then lunges with this one like that. Um, in the Japanese fight, he switched it up a little bit better. When he was on the attack that he was going backwards, he didn't have such a bad tail. He was able to throw the punches from his hips. And that's when you can't predict which angle the punch is coming from, because you can go to the body or to the top. Traditionally, when you're in the high guard, you're like this, the punches come from here. You can more or less maneuver around them, and if you're good enough, you'll see them coming. But when they're coming from the wayside, it's hard to determine which one of them are coming. I think if you ask me, Lopez does it better than Nari. He actually does that style better than Nari. I think Nari does, he leaves his hand cocked back here too much. The window is too big for me, where I would really see Naoya Inoue hurting him badly in the first round and knocking him out in the second. If the fight was just going, they just say, yo, do whatever you're going to do. If Luis Pantera Nari gets up in the first round, the Japanese superstar will put him away in the second round. That's how you know, I've seen better technical guys with that tried that strategy. They didn't fare well against them at all. At all. And if, like I said, if I see Luis Nari in the sixth fucking round of this fight, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. Unless I'm seeing something totally like he's hitting like the Japanese dude and Naoya Inoue is going backwards and Luis is like having mad success, hitting him on the ropes, then that would be a different story. Then I'd be like, no, he's earning the right to be in the sixth round. That would be a totally different story. Depending, but that's hard to see. It's hard to see, but this is boxing and anything can happen in boxing. Each of these men are professional athletes. They are professional boxers, and one punch can change the fight. You're damn right it can. Like I said, my theme for this year, be prepared to see your favorite fighter lose. And we have to be prepared to see if One of those fighters could be this Japanese superstar. It is very hard for a boxer to end their career undefeated. Mayweather was able to pull that off, and it seems like a lot of other fighters have been trying to do just that. Not many have ever pulled that off. Congratulations to Ward. A lot of people said he retired a little early, but and then they criticized his division and his competition, as such. But listen, at the end of the day, he did his job in his division, right? Hats off to you, brother. You know, not a lot of fighters can pull this off. And I'm not sure that should be something that these boxers are worried about. I believe that in some cases that not wanting to sacrifice your O has stopped us from getting some of the best fights, such as Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. And I talked about this earlier. I believe Shakur Stevenson is kicking himself in the ass because he had a shot at those four belts and he didn't take it. He could have those four belts, Shakur Stevenson. You're damn right he could. And he didn't take it. What's up, man? So good. Tank and Naoya Inoue is a dream fight. You're damn right it is. What's up, Carlos? Yeah, look, like I said, right, guys? Look, what they're gonna try to do is say that Devin Haney now is not that guy, that he got exposed. You have to understand what took place. No, Devin Haney is still that guy, and he is still a skilled boxer. What got exposed was a certain area in his fight. And also, I believe Devin Haney went for the okie doke. I truly do now, right? All these antics that Ryan Garcia did, I think Devin Haney took him lightly. It didn't look like the regular, reactive Devin Haney. He wasn't quick on the trigger. He didn't look at all. Even before he got punched, it looked like the same Devin Haney. And I was like looking at him like, did you just come in here with the same old, same old? Like, what has improved on Devin Haney? And I think this is doing part a lot to that money, the lifestyle, and him sleeping on silk sheets, becoming a Muslim, putting his time and a lot of other things but boxing. And I have seen that before. And now Ryan Garcia over Devin Haney's lack of preparation and getting better, Ryan Garcia is now being revered as him, as that dude. When Ryan Garcia is not him. Congratulations, young man, for the win. You beat a skilled fighter. No one can take that away from you. And Ryan Garcia does have an 83% knockout ratio. He is a hard puncher. He did knock out Oscar's tooth, damn it, right? But as far as skills, no, Jerron Boots Ennis has skills. That's skills. Tank Davis has skills. Terrence Crawford has skills. Of course, even has skills. Okay, these men are really skilled fighters. Okay, so Devin Haney still has skills. Devin Haney will still beat Regis Prograis, I believe, 10 times out of 10 out of 10 times. It's just that I truly believe that Ryan Garcia got help. And he got help from Devin Haney, thinking Ryan Garcia wasn't mentally ready for this fight and that he was going to go in there and fight a mentally unstable boxer. And Ryan Garcia walked in that ring with supreme confidence. And he ran into a wall early. And when Ryan Garcia hit him with that big shot, he could not recover from it. Listen, he took that shot, no blocking of the punch. You seen it. It was clean. Clean. And you had a first round fresh Ryan Garcia cracking you like that. When Tank Davis came on and they said, Tank, out of all the fighters you've ever been in the ring with, who hits the hardest? He said, "Let me tell you something. Ryan Garcia hits the hardest out of any man I've ever been in a fight with, and that's coming from probably, arguably, uh, probably the third hardest hitter in all of boxing. Hank Davis himself is saying that about Ryan." And right when I heard that, I was like, "Wait a minute, holy shit, Ryan's gonna fucking weight bully this dude," and he did. He did exactly that. And I was like, man, I saw it coming. And then I think Devin Haney's team saw it coming late and they tried to pack on as much pounds on Devin Haney the night before. And I actually think that that might have came back and bit him in the ass. It might have made him that much slower. And since Devin Haney doesn't pack a big punch, you know what Devin Haney did wrong? Exactly what Ryan Garcia paid for when he made that ridiculous claim about making wet and making weight and made this bet with him. I told you guys, I think Ryan Garcia just paid him all that money to knock him out. And when they caught on to the Heaney's caught on to what was happening, it was way too late. They didn't train at that weight. They weren't prepared at that weight. And then at the same time, Devin Haney foolishly met him at the center of the ring. And Ryan Garcia took full advantage of it rather than boxing him, you know, and staying alert. Yo, is that a $10 don? What's going on, baby? Yo, why isn't this popping up over here? Yo, what's up? Digital? Flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face, huh? Thank you. What's up, my boy Rob? How you doing, brother? That's because he was scared of Ryan Garcia because he was the same height and the same size. It's not a regular small guy that was using to beat on. No, well, all right. Listen, Devin Haney can't really help the fact that the guy's either smaller or bigger than him. It's kind of the guy. But, that's not all true. All Devin Haney's opponents, he wasn't always the taller man. No. Linares was actually taller than him. And there was a few fighters he came against, but his last few fighters, and I touched on that and I talked about that, right? And I said, look at Subriel Matias' competition. When he's fighting the real 145 40-pound guys that are ranked in that division. If you start scheduling fights with much smaller guys or lesser opposition, um, you're not getting any better. And you might not be taking these fights with the maximum motivation required to beat these guys. And that's what happens. You end up giving these guys and your nightmares end up coming true. Naoya Inoue was on record saying, they said, hey, Naoya, why don't you take a tune-up fight? He said, I don't have the mental strength to take a tune-up fight. I need the fight to mean something, to have maximum motivation. When guys take these kind of fights that they're not really, they're for money or whatever, and they're not taking these guys serious. They're not in the gym running that extra mile. They're on TikTok or whatever, laughing at the guy, making a mockery of himself. Oh, yeah, listen, man, let's take the rest of the day off. We got shit to do, you know? And I don't really think that the real version of Devin Haney showed up. And I think that that young man has to live with that. Only Devin Haney knows what truly went wrong in that ring for him on that night. And I believe Devin Haney wasn't prepared. He didn't look like the Devin Haney that entered the ring against Lomachenko. That Devin Haney that entered the ring against Lomachenko was cut the fuck up, ripped, focused, made weight as a professional. He had a game plan, everything. When he was in this fight with Ryan Garcia, Bill Haney wasn't telling him much of a game plan. He didn't say any sign of do what we were training, get underneath the hook, how we were, none of that shit. It was just like, basic stuff. You know what you were supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, nah, it didn't seem like he really had a plan on that night. It really didn't, you know. And that's what I mean about big, big, big fights, and watching a real professional, a master at work. Naoya Inoue is a master at work, and I love to see his fights. I learn something from his fights every time. In fact, there are punches that I didn't even think were possible that he's starting to show me. Wait a minute, in that situation, I could have did this. When I didn't even think of that, as a possibility. He really, really shows you that boxing is not written all the way. There are new artists that have their new styles and their new ways of presenting fighting, standing on your feet with two hands, and they're showing it at a world class level. It's very exciting to see these men enter the ring, these type of quality of men, like a Terrence Crawford. August 3rd is going to be electrifying, and I can't wait to see him in the ring. You know, um, uh these guys, I'm glad that boxing is evolving now. There are a lot of new players that are getting these fighters opportunities normally they would have never had. These Saudis are bringing money to the table that is truly life changing for some of these men and women, and they should take full advantage and give the fans these kind of fights, and the sanctioning bodies and these fighters and promoters should see the change, and evolve with boxing. May all these organizations work with each other. There are going to be some boxing promoters that are soon going to start to exit, and it's going to be sad to see them leave. Al Heyman, eventually Bob Arum. I mean, how much longer can Bob Arum go? Fuck it, another 100 years. I don't know. This guy is just amazing. I think boxing keeps him alive. He actually, like, if you was to take his blood, it would just be a boxing glove, just pours right out. A red boxing glove. Like Bob Arum, truly, truly, like he was a lawyer that gave up basically his profession to become a boxing promoter. He was called in, and I believe Ali's fight, one of it as a legal advisor, and fell in love with boxing and become one of the most well-renowned boxing promoters. Whether you love or hate him, whether you think he's a piece of shit, a shitbag, whatever, bro, he is the definition of a boxing promoter, man. And I talked about that earlier in my chat. He's a real shark, that old man. He's been around the best of the best, and he's been around mobsters, gangsters, bullies, fighters, and he's around some of the most toughest men in the world. And in that room, Bob Arum feels at home. It tells you what kind of man he is. You are not saying nothing slick to that old man. He walks around killers all day, every day. Like, fucking Bob Arum, bro. For real, man. He's been around for a long time, man. But, there are a lot of players that are coming in, and Ed Hearns is really doing some big things. He signed some big fighters. When you can sign Subriel Matias and Jerron Boots Ennis in the same year, hmm, hmm, okay. Okay, but I mean, Ed Hearns, I see you. I see you, you know. And then just look at the card by itself on that August 3rd Terrence Crawford card. Look at all the fighters that are on there from every different promotional company, which shows you right there. You got Esau Pitbull Cruz with the PBC. You got Ed Hearn fighters on that card. You got top rank fighters on that card. You got man, listen, Andy Cruz. Come on, man. They're just um, um, David Morale, all these guys are not signed by the same boxing promoters. That card itself is saying so much without saying anything at all. you know, with just the fighters they got on it, and you start to, pay attention. You're like, wait a minute, I thought these guys don't mess with these guys, and I thought this network doesn't mess with this network. Look at this damn card. Everybody's on this card from every promotional company, every network, everything, and it it's gonna work. It's gonna work, and that's why that card is so important to me. Because when I saw that, I was like, wow, and potential cards in the future. Subriel Matias fights in June. Naoya Inoue is fighting in May. That's a month apart, meaning they can be right there, ready, in line, preparing for their next fight. And them Saudis can put them two guys on the same card, just like they did with this big card with Terrence Crawford. What? These guys are bigger than Terrence Crawford? No, they're not. Tim Zoo's got a big name. All them guys got big names, and that can be a possibility. You know, what do you guys think about that? What's up? All right, how you doing, baby? Did you see Naoya and his brother training body shots? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I've been seeing, I've been paying close attention to Naoya Inoue and some of his training videos, and sometimes you got to be careful because it's clickbait, right? I've been watching him for so long that I watch him and I'm like, man, that training video is like 3 years old, bro, because I know which ones they are. And I was watching him when he there's a video that he posted, and his weight, and you see the clothes that he has on when he made weight. The machine is all in Japan, in Japanese writing, so I couldn't even see his weight really, right? But he made the weight limit, and the clothes he had on matched the training video, so I knew it was a new one. And he was hitting the big bag. His father, Shingo, was taking a look at him, and he was going over some punch drills. His calves, they look huge. They're like tree trunks. His calves. Now, yeah, in a way, and a lot of us know that if you know how to turn your punch, a lot of your power could come from your legs. I know there's exceptionals to the rules. I've seen guys, they don't know how to use their leg and they're still knockout artists. I've seen guys like that. They throw it all from their shoulder and they just hit hard, man. And I've seen it. Yo, they don't use their legs, nothing. I'm like, how the fuck you do that? And they it's just that there's an understanding, a true understanding of how to throw your punches and to get all your blood and everything flowing to the tip of your fist. Not everybody can do it. Shit, I can't do it, I ain't no Bruce Lee, right? But I know it can be done, and I know the concept. Naoya Inoue, I've been studying him for quite some time, and I've talked about this on maybe 2 videos or so. He has this pause. I encourage you to go watch his fight, not his highlights, right? Just grab one of his middle fights. Any one of them will do. He does the same thing in every fight. He has this slight pause, right? And if you don't know what you're looking for, right, you'll miss it every time, right? Right before he throws his punches, he like sets in position. That's when I believe everything's flowing in his body. Then he shoots it like a rocket. His speed is truly, his speed. I don't think you can like teach that. You got to be born with that kind of speed, right? Because I couldn't get any faster, right? And he just like lifts, torque, and then choom, like that. It's not like he throws his punch like a regular fighter. They just throw like this, or they just snap it, or they go like that. Nah, he doesn't punch like that. There was a punch in the Stephen Kubo Fulton fight that really exposed his technique. It really showed it, right? Stephen Kubo Fulton, I think it was in the closing part of the second round or the first round. It was in the first round he threw this punch. Stephen Kubo Fulton goes against the rope and he bounces, and Naoya Inoue lunges with a punch. He misses Stephen Kubo Fulton, but just by the miss alone, you can see how heavy the punch was, the way he threw it. You knew that if he caught Stephen Kubo Fulton with that punch, it was lights out, baby. And I mean lights out. Okay? In that moment, he like lunges his body up from his calves, and you could see his whole body like fluctuating. And then all of a sudden he goes, boom. And I noticed it right there again. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And I was like, wow. So he has an understanding inside of him how to throw a punch. I don't think anybody taught him that. I don't think his father taught him that. I think that's something he just knows how to do. He's really gifted when it comes to throwing a punch. Naoya Inoue. Yeah. So, some guys are just born with it. I watch my older brother Jose, not just because he's my brother. And I don't want to bring him up either, but I seen him knock out his fair share of men. And it was the way he would throw it. It's in his technique. And I would watch it and I'd be like, okay, okay, and I got my fair share, but with practice makes perfect. He's a professional. He's the real deal. He's in the gym perfecting this every day. The more you practice something, the better you get at it. Naoya Inoue is he's just the type of boxer that if I had a boxer coming up, I would show him film, and I would have a lot of things that I would take away from a fighter such as Naoya Inoue to teach my young fighter and to show him that there's other ways to perform the dance and to show him how he switches it up in the moments when he makes adjustments and what adjustments truly mean. There are a lot of fighters that in the fight sometimes um, they start watching the fighter in front of them rather than fighting them. And it's kind of like they've only worked across drills in the ring. And I mean, in the gym, they only worked on drills and sequences and shots. It's up to you to get in the ring and put it together as a fighter. Your coach can only teach you so much, but the basic style of boxing comes from you. At the end, what is your style? How do you flow? Where do you feel good? There's a video going around by a gentleman that was really outclassing his opponent. He was dancing in the ring. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And he was just like hitting the guy, and the referee hadn't seen nothing like it. When he would like lift his foot up, the referee would bug out and he kind of would stop the action, but the dude was just putting it on him. And then when people paid to see that same guy fight again, he didn't do the same thing. And they were expecting to see him fight like this all the time. That's not necessarily true. You ever been in a sport and you've been in what they call the zone? You're in the zone, baby. And whatever it is, you could be hitting your shot, catching the balls, taking the pass, whatever sport it is, playing fucking darts. I don't know, but you're in the zone. On that night, that gentleman was in the zone. And against that kind of fighter, he felt it. You can't rush something like that. You're gonna end up getting knocked out because now you're forcing it. You're acting it out, and this guy is gonna catch you. Like the fighter, the Prince. There, he was real good at doing the same thing until he was exposed badly, and he didn't know how to do anything else. You see, this other guy is showing, no, he's also a boxer and he can box if he wants to, you know. But on that night, he was just in the zone, baby. And he was like topping him on the top of the head, spinning around, moving, uppercutting the dude. He was truly just in the zone. But you can't do that every night, you know. Um, and that's what I mean about some fighters being in that zone. Naoya Inoue stays in a perpetual zone mode. It's just constantly perpetuating, you know. Um, and I can't wait to see his fight May 6th in Tokyo, Japan. Um, uh, his brother's gonna fight on that card. Um, I think that his next card is going to be a really big card. I doubled back and I checked to see if it was a possibility that he would stay at 122 pounds. And I think there is a possibility he might stay at 122 pounds after this fight. He might not go anywhere. Um, I'm not sure, but um, most of these fights that had took place and these interviews were interviews that he did before the Saudis came into the equation. I'm going to admit that, right? So, he hasn't really said anything radio silence about him not moving up or staying there, but prior to fighting Marlon Tapales, he was talking about staying the rest of 2024 at 122. That what was said. And we all know this. Boxers say, a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? But money changes everything. $69 million and they want you asking you to move up. If that's the case, then perhaps that could entice a man. You know, I'm not really sure. I'm curious to see what's he gonna do and who's he gonna fight at 122 if he stays there. Who's he gonna fight? MJ? Like, do you really think that that fight is even worth it anymore at this point? He's got legacy in front of him. With every step in every division he enters, he's writing history and legacy. You know, defending all four belts again. If he's successful against Luis Pantera Nares, he would have already achieved that. And like I said, you don't want to give these guys too many opportunities at all four belts. Let them do it the way you did it. Go earn them. You fight one guy and win four belts. So, the longer you stay like that, you end up giving another person an opportunity to changing their stars as well. So, I really want to see what he does because I was checking out the time frames to see if he had said any of that shit that he was going to stay there in 2024 for the remaining of the year. But it seems like he said all that just before the Marlon Tapales fight. And Bob Arum went on and said that he was going to stay there, but it's not really up to Bob Arum. It's up to Naoya Inoue whether he wants to move up or not. Bob Arum is just his promoter, but his manager and his team puts in the request to his promoter, which is Bob Arum. And I tell you right now, Bob Arum loves himself some Naoya Inoue. He loves himself some Naoya Inoue, and he's really going to back him up. And it's good when you have a promotional company as big as Top Rank that can go to bat for you, you know? So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it isn't important. And in the earlier part of this video right here, all right, I talked about that. That, that in the Tokyo arena, the last undisputed fight that was ever held there, um the they saw Mike Tyson lose to Buster Douglas, and that was the last boxing match held in that arena. And Mike Tyson was like Tokyo's Godzilla at the time. They loved themselves some Mike Tyson, you know, and he lost that night. And Tokyo Arena shut the doors down, right? And they opened it back up now for Naoya Inoue. Yes. Yeah, there has not been a boxing match in that Tokyo Dome since Iron Mike Tyson got knocked out by Buster Douglas. This is the first time they're opening the doors and scheduling a boxing match in that building. Yeah, and they believe they're doing it because Naoya Inoue is a real one. And why wouldn't you? If you had that fighter in your stable of fighters, I would be supremely confident. I see what I have. If I had Terrence Crawford, as the Native Americans do, and they know what they got, you remember when Jeff Horn beat up on Manny Pacquiao? Lies. And Rob Manny Pacquiao, and they set him up with Terrence Crawford. They put our boy on him. Manny got robbed, and they told our boy to go in and take care of business. And he did. you know? So Japan knows what they have. They know what they have. And this is a big event. It's big enough to hold that venue and pack it. Um, and they decided to open the doors. They decided to open the doors. And this is why this is really big. Not to mention, all four belts are on the line. You know, it's the biggest boxing achievement any boxer could dream of. That's your Super Bowl, NBA championship, and baseball Major League World Series trophy all in a one. Yeah, it truly is. That's some legendary shit. Yeah, Mike lost that night, man. Yeah, that was some legendary shit on that night, man. It really was. But no one expected Mike to lose. Mike was on that rise, like, and it was an upset. It was an upset because, this is boxing, you know. Right now, oh, they're not going in the ring yet. They still have one match before them. Jose Ramirez is going in. This is the tail of the tape. He's 31 years old. Yeah, yeah. So I guess there's someone else before this fight, or were they talking about one? Because I had this lower, so I'm not even hearing it. But I'm waiting to see if how Ortiz here does in this fight, because this fight's important now if we still want to get him to fight against Tim Tszyu. And he's undefeated and everything. If he takes a loss tonight, that'll affect his paycheck, or at least his negotiations, in that fight. I believe shit, it might get him out of the fight. They might get Tim Tszyu another fighter. So as soon as that a fight was announced with Tim Tszyu and everything, they abandoned talking about this fight. Did you notice that? They abandoned everything with this fight. They weren't even talking about it. Oscar De La Hoya only talked about Tim Tszyu for Ortiz. Yeah, you notice that, right? So Ortiz, like, you just gotta get past these fights, and yeah, he's going to. Well, it's scheduled. You know how that goes, bro. How many times did a guy was scheduled to fight another guy, and he took that one tune-up fight in between and ended up losing? How many times have we seen that in boxing? And that fucks shit up. That's the fight you were supposed to have. Dante Wilder lost his last fight, and he was supposed to have a big fight scheduled in the future with Anthony Joshua. He loses, that fight goes out the window. You could fuck stuff up. And these guys started, oh yeah, my guy will fight your guy, oh, don't worry about it. My guy's gonna wipe the floor with this guy. I'll see you August 3rd. Don't worry. And he goes out there and gets knocked out. What happens then? Tell me if that fight's still on schedule. It's not gonna have the same hype, the same buzz. And I'm definitely not paying that guy the money he was asking for after he went out there and got knocked out by a by a relatively unknown, so Let's see. Let's see what happens. Yeah, these guys right now are getting into the ring right now. But yeah, man, it was scheduled after this fight. So this fight was already negotiated, talked about. They already went into training camp. Then I guess when Ed Hearn called his boy Oscar and was like, "Yo, Oscar, the Saudis want to put all these fights. Do you got fighters?" And Oscar threw his boy out there and was like, now that Terrence Crawford is like leaving and going up to 154, right? And why didn't he fight Jerron Boots Ennis? Why is he fighting Tim Tszyu at 154? Hmm. 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 Ron Buzan also announced that he wanted to go up to 154 and chase all these guys. 154 is going to probably turn into the next 140 in a couple months. And with the return of Jamel Charlo, that's going to be really interesting because I'm pretty sure he still has his name still carries weight in the division, and the sanctioning bodies will work with him. I understand they stripped him, but respectfully, he deserves a shot at the top guys on his return because he never lost the belts. So that's going to really on who ends up fighting him when he gets back. And could there be a potential mega showdown between Jamel Charlo and Terrence Crawford Jr.? Because when I believe Jamel Charlo returns, the person that's going to be holding some of his belts is going to be Terrence Crawford. And then Sebastian Fundora got the other ones, you know? So, you know, look, Sebastian Fundora is really going to put himself in a situation where he can get a little bit of money and get some good training. I know that his dad did an amazing job with him and his sister training out of that garage in their house. But now you're a world champion and you really need to start getting some world champion coaching looks. Dad could always be there for you and, you could always train in your house. Shit, it's attached to your house, but I think Sebastian Fundora, if he wants to give himself the best opportunity of holding on to those titles, if what you could see on the horizon is a potential fight in the near future with Terrence Crawford, well, then you better get your son some world class training. Because you better believe Terrence Crawford got world class training. And Bomac and his team, they've been doing this for a very long time, a very long time. So if you have any intentions on really helping your son, sometimes, you got to step out of your way. And get your son that kind of training. He did a phenomenal job. I tilt my hat off to him. His daughter and his son. That's got to put you at a real high. But at the same time, uh, you really want your son to be around, and it doesn't mean that you lose your son. You just pay the coach. I'm gonna pay you to trade my son. You're still there, you're still in the mix, you know but get him that training that he needs, I believe. you know so gone, what's up? Tickets were sold out in a day. For who? For what fight? So gone. What tickets sold out in a day, and in what fight event? What were you talking about? I gonna have to scroll up. What, the Mike Tyson fight? I like to see what you were saying about that. They still haven't released the ticket sales or the gates or the pay per view for the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, have they? Have any of you guys seen the ticket sales? Because I know they sometimes they release it for the public. Did any of you guys happen to catch that? And if so, let me know. You know, um, yeah. So look, this fight in Tokyo, Japan is really big. Like I said, in many ways, it is for four belts. And when you give another man an opportunity or crack at four belts, you know, uh, uh, yeah, it doesn't happen every day, and it's going to be an explosive matchup. There are a few championships on that same card where Maloney is putting up his title, and Naoya Inoue's kid brother is putting up his title. And let me see what you guys are saying here. Damn, bro, Vega knocked out in one round with a body shot. And that was it, huh? And that's it, baby. That's it. That's all it took. That's all it took, man. Listen, Oscar and all of them knew that there wasn't going to be much of a fight, you know? And that's why they scheduled this fight out there. And they were supremely confident that this was truly just a tune up fight. And I think that he was going to go out there with the intentions on getting a few rounds in, but with this mega fight, preparing for Tim Zoo, get him out of there quick, huh? It was over with. But I tell you what, man, you know, uh, Saul Canelo Alvarez is going to fight just before this card on May 4th. And then on May 18th, we got the unification bout against Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Now, that's, the biggest fight. For the heavyweight division, we'll get a definitive king in the heavyweight division. We haven't had one of those in quite some time. I was thinking that, when Wilder and Joshua, I thought that that fight was going to come along, and then here comes Tyson Fury, and he plays spoiler, knocks out Wilder like 500 times, right? And that fight never materialized. And Tyson Fury has had all four belts in the heavyweight division, just not simultaneously. At one point in time, he had three of them, and then he kind of like went off the deep end, and then retired out of boxing unceremoniously, kind of like, we didn't at one point he was at the top of the world, and all of a sudden he was dressing up like Batman in a yellow Lamborghini, showing up to press conferences. He was truly losing his mind. He was having like a meltdown too. Talk about Ryan Garcia. I remember Tyson Fury's antics, and then he blimped up to like 300 pounds. He walked away from the sport. He was, riding into the sunset. The man was gone, and here comes fucking Dante Wilder. Yo, Tyson Fury, you lucky you retired. If you didn't retire, I would have knocked your punk ass out too. And Tyson Fury said, "What?" And turned around. Hey, yo, that lit a fire in the Gypsy King's ass, and he started training, and he made a comeback. And regardless of what I feel like, I believe the first fight in the glove situation, I believe Tyson Fury did cheat a little in that fight, but you know, uh, out boxing him, straight up and getting up from his punch gave him the confidence that he needed to go in and just fight him with his fist. And the second and the third fight, each time he was just that much more confident. And he had already seen what Dante Wilder brought. He knew he had that big punch, but that's all he had, you know. So now going up against a much better technical boxer in the sense of, you know, a technical boxer. Usyk is a better counter puncher than I think than any of the heavyweights Tyson Fury has fought against. And the one thing is that he's coming, did fight fighters at lower weight divisions where he has fought faster guys. Now, I'm not sure if that speed will be a factor when all Tyson has to do is basically stick out his hands. He's so tall and long that sticking out his hands like this could stifle some of his attack, right? And that's what he does. And then he likes to put his weight on the much smaller guy. Usyk was surprised to the body against Dubois. When Dubois hit him with that body shot, for me, that was a straight up body shot. It was a straight up body shot. And you know what gave it away for me? Is that when Dubois hit Usyk, which they considered it to be a low blow, but when he hit him and Usyk went down, he never grabbed his balls. He never, when you get hit in the balls, you grab your balls because it was a ball. When he got hit, he grabbed his stomach, which indicated it was a body shot. And the belt line, it's supposed to be when you raise your trunks all the way up, it can't pass your belly button. The trunks have to be right there, even with your belly button. If they're over your belly button, he's going to tell you, I'm going to count this as good. These trunks are a little high. That's what he's going to say to you. You see? So, when he hit him and Usyk went down, he grabbed his side of his stomach. I said, that's a body shot. If you get hit in the ball, look, the punch can be high because your cup can be high. If it hits any part of the cup and pushes the cup towards your balls, right? That's a low blow because even though it's high, it still will push your cup down, right? That was just nowhere near the cup. That was a legit body shot. And technically, Dubois should have been the champion, but shit happens in boxing. Dubois should have stood focused and he should have went right back down to the body because he knew he had him softened up. And I think Dubois gave up on himself in that fight. And then he kind of like folded. It didn't even look like he got hit with a big shot. He looked like he just didn't want to be there. Like he was the kid that feels like he got cheated and wanted to take his bat and ball and go home. He was on some shit like that. He should have stood focused. Just stay focused, my man. But he didn't. And Usyk ended up stopping him in the fight. You know, um, so you know, Tyson Fury is a good body puncher. He's a really good body puncher. And the one thing he does is he moves exceptionally well on his top of part of his body. Against Francis Ngannou, I understand, man. Listen, we all saw it. He underestimated that man, and he didn't look like the Tyson Fury. I think coming into this fight, knowing he's coming off his last performance and the way that Joshua just cleaned out Francis Ngannou, that it really made him look bad. So I believe Tyson Fury has a lot to prove with this fight right here. Also, all four belts. This is the thing that Tyson Fury has been chasing since he's been a heavyweight champion. All he's ever wanted to do was unify all four belts, and that would solidify him as probably going down as one of the best heavyweights to ever do it. You know, also never tasting defeat. So, yeah, yeah, it's big for the heavyweight division. So, yeah, fight fans, look, man. Oh, the Naoya fight, it sold out in a day. In one freaking day, bro, huh? Tell me about it. In one day, that fight sold out. Damn, bro. That good man, listen. And David Haney and Ryan Garcia had plenty of tickets the day of the fight. the weigh-in, Oscar and them were still announcing you can get your tickets online, buy them quick because they're gonna be sold out. You mean they didn't sell out already? Months leading all those shenanigans with Ryan Garcia, guys still didn't sell out. They announced this fight in Tokyo, Japan, in one of the biggest arenas possible in all of Japan. It probably sits probably 18,000 fans, right? And they sold out. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. And that goes to show you that he does his fighting with these. The world and all those people want to see Naoya Inoue fight for only one reason, because of what he does with these, not with this. Yes. Listen, fight fans, it's been great. Like always, thank you for tuning in here at Round One Sports Talk. It has been an amazing show. I am your host, Edwin, and if you guys got anything to talk about and you guys have any fighters you guys want to talk about more, leave it in the comments. Any of your questions, I'll answer any of your boxing questions. And listen, fight fans, you guys have been amazing. Let me try one thing real quick here. Um, I don't understand. All right, all right. Listen, I'll try to do something for you right now, but I gotta go back into this thing and really like check it out because I mean they showed me and now I don't know how to do it. But anyway, fight fans, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please, on your way out, give the video a like. And like always, I'm on to the next one after this one here at Wrong One Sports Talk.